What's good, everybody? Welcome back to episode 13. Oh my god, just nice. I actually didn't realize. I just realized it as I was saying 13, episode 13 of the One More Thing podcast. And today we're going to be talking about the secrets to a happy life. As much clickbait as this sounds, I feel like these are really the secrets to a happy life. I think everybody in this world of like cheat codes and hacks and everything, we all want to find like the easiest and the most straightforward way of knowing something. Like we don't like to beat around the bush too much and be like, oh, you gotta do this. I'm just gonna give it straight. Like these are the things that I feel is or are the key to living a happy life, a happier life. Okay, I'm not gonna say it's confirm gonna be like happy. I think happy, you have to define what happy is for yourself, but I think that these are the things that are going to play a contributing factor into your quality of life, and it is something that I think everybody would want to listen up for. And how did I get all these is through my experience of reflection, looking back and thinking, how could I have done things differently? I know some of it have the caveats of you gotta experience this in order for you to kind of realize this. But I think when I was going through all this, I really tried to pick out the things where you don't necessarily have to learn something before realizing that this is something that you should be doing. Get what I'm trying to say? Like, there's only certain things, there are certain things where you have to reach a certain maturity to maybe practice or fully understand. And then there are some things which you have to, experience for yourself before you actually understand it. I think these things that I'm going to talk about are things which you can just do, right at this second, or in like for today, whichever day you're listening this to, you can do it right as you are doing it today. Yeah. So hopefully this helps you improve your happiness in your life. I know that when I have started doing all this, my life happiness and quality has increased. So yeah, just want to share that with everybody and hope that it helps you somehow. Let's get into it. Alright, number one. Okay, the first secret to a happy life or a happier life is to document evidence that proves your efforts. To document evidence that proves your efforts. So, I think a little backstory about this episode is when I was thinking of what do I want to talk about for this one, I actually started with a list of regrets that I realized I have been having recently. Yes, so regrets, I define regrets as things that you wish you had done, essentially. Right? I think that's what regrets are. Okay, things that you wish you had done and that you regret not doing. You wish you had, that's basically what I'm trying to say. Anyway, so document evidence that proves your effort. So what are the things that I actively try to find nowadays? Like really scrolling through, my past IGs, the non-active ones, and my archive of videos and photos is to find any kind of documentation of my day zero standards. So the standards that I was performing at, or the standards that I held myself to when I first started out. Right, and maybe even embarrassing performances in the early days. So I'm talking about like the crappy dance videos, like fat photos of myself, bad results that I've gotten over time, failures, and so much more. Right, so you would then think, why am I trying to find all of those? Well, because so that I can give myself that assured evidence that I have been the creator of my current life. It is to, make sure, or not make sure, it's to show to myself that, I'll remind myself where I was from, right? If you have a comparison, basically works by comparing one point to the other point, or something to something else. So if you always know where you are now, but sometimes you would lose the clear sight of where you were before. So that comparison does not equate, or is not as powerful as it should be in assuring that you have grown, or that you have progressed, or that you have made some sort of increment in whatever pursuit you are chasing. So furthermore, right, memories can be tainted. I believe that they can be skewed to what we want to remember, and they can be transformed by events that happen after those memories were made. So for example, if, let's say, I'm thinking of an example. Okay, so think of it this way. If, let's say, I am now currently a very good dancer. Okay, let's say I'm a currently very good dancer, and I have built my confidence, and I have, let's say, built this image that I've always been a good dancer. Then you would tend to forget about those times where maybe you messed up a lot because it was not helping you build your confidence. So in this present moment, you have forgotten that you were this back then, right? You had this very bad performance, and then you made a lot of mistakes back then. It is possible to really forget about all those things in pursuit of building your confidence. And having these documentations, right? Like, there is undeniable proof from video footage that you sucked, right? So having that bigger comparison of being a nobody and messing up so many things to where you are now, a very, very great dancer, that comparison is a lot better, and you feel happier about that. You feel more proud about yourself, right? So documentation is absolute and objective, right? It's absolute and objective. If I think that I actually wasn't a bad dancer before because I've pacified my ego, it's not going to change how embarrassingly I danced in that performance 3 months in starting dance, right? So the video is not going to lie. It's not going to change because, you thought that you were not as bad. It's still going to be as bad as the day that you performed it, right? And it's 3 months into your dance, let's say 3 months into your dance journey, like you started dancing 3 months ago, and then you went for a performance and caught on video, this is the performance. I don't think it's gonna look really good. You will be proud of yourself, like, yeah, I did that, I managed to do that with little experience, but it's not gonna lie that it's gonna suck. Right? So no matter how good you are now, that proof of this is where you started out from is never gonna change. So if I thought that I wasn't really that overweight before in my childhood and in my primary school days, then the documented weighing scale number from before isn't going to magically change. If, let's say, I was, like 40 kg when I was 8 years old, that's not going to change because it was documented that that was my weight at that age. Right? So even if I thought, like, in memory, when you only think about how you look, right? Like when you think about your image back then, you're like, I think I was pretty okay. Like, still a bit more proportional, it's not that overweight. It was just a little bit, right? But then the numbers don't lie, right? 40 kg at 8 years old that's overweight, man. I'm currently, my weight is like always fluctuating between 60. So sometimes it's like 58, 59, 60, 61, right? And I'm like 28. So 20 years ago, I was 20 kg lesser. That does not make sense. So yeah, the documented weighing scale number from before isn't going to magically change because you thought that, I was not that overweight. right? And so it then becomes the conclusion and the realization that, oh, you yourself made the choice to put in the effort to change and to improve. And naturally, the only way to assess that progress is to compare objectively from point A to point B, right? Because again, feelings can be skewed, can be influenced. Some things can be, removed from the equation totally because you don't want to face it, or some things can be forgotten, or some things can be influenced by people's opinions and lost over times, etc., etc. And having a more realistic comparison is the key to being happy, because you have something to be happy about. Most of the time, I feel why we are not happy is because we don't have things to be happy about. We don't give ourselves things to be happy about. But if we can give ourselves these comparisons, and through this progress tracking, a more stringent and ritualistic documentation of your progress, then we are setting up that framework where we can look back and objectively be happy about our true progress, right? So not only can you objectively track your progress, you'll be able to adjust then what is it going to plan, and inversely continue and improve what is going to plan, right? So if you compare, right, your progress, let's say from secondary school, right, sec 1 to sec 3, right, and then you realize that, oh, I've made a lot of progress. So you know that whatever you are doing is productive, it is effective, and it is working, right? So either you continue doing it, or maybe if you are even more perfectionist, you can figure out what else can you do. But if you see that from sec 1 to sec 3, this is not much progress or even no progress, then you have to look at what you've been doing and then realize that that is not working, and then you can change it, right? If you have no idea how far you have come, whether it's a lot or very little, you don't know what that says about your process. You don't know if your process is working, if you don't know if you need to change anything, you don't know if you need to tweak something so that it can be more effective, right? So yeah, that's why progress tracking is a key part of any elite performance athletes. They always track what they do every single day so that they know whether they are making full use of the time. And even better is that if you see a positive change, you can be proud of yourself and reassure yourself that you are capable for changing for the better, right? Because you changed because of the things that you have done. So it's all because of you. So it's something that you should be happy about, something that you can be proud about, right? So, and moving off in a little bit more of a narcissistic point of view, or it's more like self-interest and like I want to talk about myself, is one of the reasons why I really want to find all these like early days documentation is so that I can prove to people that I did not achieve what I have through talent or luck or whatever you might call it. And I know you don't have to prove anything to anyone, like the real person you got to prove to is yourself. And I think that's also part of the reason as well. It's not just to prove to everyone else, but also to myself that whatever I have done is not by talent or by luck. It is through work that I have put in, effort, sacrifice, time, whatever it is, right? So not saying that I have achieved much, as I mentioned in my previous episode. If you have not watched that, please watch my birthday episode. But I have achieved a fair amount, and the last thing that I want anyone to think, or even myself to think, is that it was by luck or through talent, right? And why I'm saying this is because over time I have had people tell me, or I've heard people say like, oh, he learned this choreography so fast, it must be, that's because he's talented. Like, oh, he can choreograph so many items in one shot, because he's just talented. He's just lucky to find all these things very fast, and maybe like he was born fit, that's why he can do all these things, and he's naturally confident, so he can stand in front of people and all that stuff, right? So it's just like people associating everything that I have done to either talent or luck. And as much as, yes, it is from other people, eventually it will kind of become your own thoughts, because if you hear something for so long and so often, you start to get brainwashed and you start to subconsciously tell yourself that as well, right? So I've been like realizing I've thought or gone into the lines of thinking that not everything, some of the things that I've been doing is by luck, or because maybe it was talent, or because it is just a natural thing, and it kind of makes it a little bit less fulfilling. It makes it a little bit less wholesome, because it was not something that was in my control. Talent is not in my control, right? Luck is also not in my control. The only thing in my control is my efforts and my sacrifice and my time and my decisions. And the more of that you are able to control in the pursuit you're doing, then the more autonomy or the more agency or the more ownership you have of what you have accomplished, if that makes sense. Right? So if we keep saying these kind of things to other people as well, so if I keep telling people like, oh, you're doing this because you're so talented, because you were lucky that you got this opportunity, or you're lucky that you got this, or you can do this so easily because you're talented, and you're now dancing very well because you're just talented, right? So what we are actually doing is disrespecting the amount of time and effort it took to get whatever it is they seem natural at. And yes, some things are more natural to others. I wouldn't like disagree or invalidate that there is no talent in the world. There is talent. Some people are more talented at things than others, but even talent takes time and effort to hone and to apply precisely. I'm pretty sure you will be able to think of talented people who aren't achieving what they should be achieving. It's because talent can only get you so far. You still need time, effort, and sacrifice to perform and achieve at a certain level. So I don't want to be known for talent, because I honestly don't think I have much skill talent. Okay? I think I have talent to compliment myself a bit. I think I have talent in like willpower and like mindset and stuff like that, right? So I work long and hard to do what I'm able to do, and by saying that it is just by talent or by luck is such a disrespect, albeit I know it's intended as a compliment. And going off in a small tangent, okay, this is something that you can do if you are a bit more narcissistic and you want to get ahead of everybody. If we always credit the amazing things people do to talent, we subconsciously believe that it is not possible to attain it by normal means, because talent is inbuilt. What this means is, if you are really the kind that likes to get ahead of people and you want to minimize the amount of competition you have, then just tell people it is talent. Just tell people it's talent or by luck, because those are things that they cannot control. It's either you have it or you don't. So why would they work for something that is not attainable? Get what I'm going at? So again, few different ways to play this out, but to me, I would rather be known for my hard work and work ethic and sacrifice and effort and all that, rather than being a talent. Anyways, to bring this point back to land, whatever you are starting out with now, whatever you probably suck at, whatever things you are trying to work on, collect any and all kinds of evidence so you have a point A to look back upon. It is not to share, post up, tell people at that moment, but for you to remind yourself where you were. So few examples are: don't be afraid to take class videos even if you don't remember any steps. And when you take class videos, make sure you are seen so that you can see yourself when you look back, and then have a very, very, very clear point of indication of this is where you were at, right? Don't be afraid to take photos even if you currently don't like how you look, right? Like I was fat back then. I honestly don't have much photos back then because didn't want to take much photos, but I wish I had them now so that I can show that, hey, and I can remember myself, hey, this is where I was, right? Like now can't really remember how much overweight I was, but having a photo would be a more solid way of having a picture of it, right? And don't be afraid to get bad results and document them, right? Because it'll only make a glow up that much more spectacular, right? And talking about glow up, those photos where they show the, before puberty, after puberty, it's same thing, right? The more like far apart they are, the more impressive it is, right? It's more spectacular it is. It's the same thing, but instead of your looks, it is your journey of whatever you're chasing, your skill that you are trying to chase. And if you have that, you will be able to live a happier life because you have given yourself credit and you are able to objectively see the progress that you have made, day 0 to day whatever it is you are at. And again, it's all about giving yourselves a framework where it allows you to see the progress you have made. And yeah, who's gonna not be happy about that? Who's gonna still be sad about, oh, I did not make any progress, when it's clearly, objectively there based on documentation and evidence that you have made progress? And so yes, first secret, and it's not even something that's hard to do. Just take more videos, take more pictures, write things down, document them. Those are things that we are trained to do in school. Do it. All right, moving on. The second secret to living a happier life. This is quite straightforward. Celebrate the small wins. So a bit related to the previous point where we need to give ourselves more reasons to celebrate. And this one is more of doing the celebration. So the fastest way to a burnout and to lose your passion in something is to only celebrate when you think you've hit a big milestone. You might think this is sustainable, but think about it. If we are desensitized to small wins, how big must the big win be in our eyes to deem it worthy of a celebration? Then how often does something like that come along? And furthermore, if it ever comes, are we going to let ourselves fully celebrate it guilt-free? And in fact, will we even know how to appropriately celebrate it? Let that sink in for a while. You can rewind and play that whole thing again. So recently I defined 2 distinct ways of living life. The first one, which I call the Goggins or Hormozy way, is the grit your teeth and get on with it, take no breaks, and always be productive in living life. Yes, so it's just like headstrong and just bulldoze your way through, no matter what you're feeling. And then the other way, which I call the Chris Williamson and Ross Edgley way, is a discomfort strategically managed way of living life. So if you're wondering why I call it those, is because those are the people that I associate these ways of living life with. So David Goggins, I've talked about him before in my previous episodes. He's just a crazy dude. Yes. Alex Hormozy also is a crazy dude. They are like the epitome, and Jocko Willink. Yeah. They are like the epitome of just headstrong and get shit done. Take no breaks, just get shit done. Right? And then Chris Williamson is the podcast that I've been listening to a lot. He is very into managing his life and optimizing his life in a way that is productive but still, gives him breaks and time off here and there. Same as Ross H. Lee. So Ross H. Lee is he's a person, obviously, and he has broken a record for the longest river swim nonstop. So I think he did like 50 something hours nonstop swimming. Yeah, like no sleep, 50 plus hours just swimming. Yeah, in a river. And both of them have more of this discomfort strategically managed. So it's not about powering through all the discomfort. It's more of how can we manage the discomfort as it comes, right? So not just bulldoze, but tactfully and strategically, manage it. So what I found out is, as I was understanding this, is it's hard to believe that someone else can live their lives so differently from us, and one that we wouldn't much enjoy, but they are happy and content with it. It's the whole concept of you are not able to process something that you don't believe in. So for those of you who are not as headstrong, not in a bad way, are not as intense, let's say intense, and I will use the word crazy for a lack of a better word, as like David Goggins and Alex Hormozy, and you would not understand how that lifestyle even is possible, right? I'm talking about like minimal sleep, like fully packed schedules, no breaks, just working, and they love it. They are happy with it, right? So you will be able to do it, but you will not be able to get the same satisfaction as they do. So it's hard to understand it because you are not able to do it. But then when I was discovering all this, it popped into my head that, yeah, it is actually possible for people to live an entirely different way of life and be happy and content with it. That's like a mind F, right? So some people are really able to grit their teeth and power through anything and everything without taking breaks, and they are happy to do so. While some are more strategic in deciding what is the best thing to be done, be it celebrating small wins, having side quests, taking breaks to recharge, and more. There is no right or wrong. There's only what works for you. So for me, I had a very Goggins Hormozy way of living life previously. If there was work to be done, then work needs to be done no matter what. I think a lot of people will be like, yeah, I knew that. So there was always work to do. So work always has to be done, and it has to be done no matter what. So for example, fractured leg, get to work still. Sick and feeling like crap, get to work still. Holiday period, get to work still. No matter how tough it got, head down, strap in, and power through. Then after each task is completed, it is either straight into the next one or wait in anticipation for the next one. So I managed to toughen myself up through this and set great standards for myself to live up to, but I was not as happy as I could have been, and I wish I had celebrated those small wins more. Again, this is like the regrets of reflecting and finding out what I would have done differently. And again, these are things that, you only realize after regretting, but it is not something that you have to regret first in order to start doing. So you can immediately start celebrating the small wins. So again, that's the theme. It's make it more like achievable for everybody. So it's not something that you have to learn before you can start doing it. You can immediately start doing it. So I wish I had acknowledged my craziness of going to work while I was on crutches, while I was super sick, while I was having a burnout, or that I had celebrated the achievements more instead of diving right into the next project immediately, or that I made a bigger deal about completing things that were once things I looked forward to completing. So yes, I can do all of that now. I can acknowledge my efforts now. I can, celebrate the past wins that I have not celebrated. But yeah, I mean, as much as I can strike off all the things on the accumulated list of uncelebrated achievements, they will not have the same weight as it would if it was done right at the moment of completion, because the moment's passed. Right? I can celebrate it now, but it's not going to mean the same. It's not going to give me that same satisfaction or, like triumph as if I were to do it immediately back then. But and so as I reflected more on it, okay, so again, if you're the kind that needs to reflect and learn it before you start to celebrate, hopefully my reflection gives you that you live vicariously through my experiences. Vicariously means like you imagine is your own, right? So the fear that I had about celebrating, and letting myself celebrate, is that we soften ourselves up by taking in compliments or losing the focus that we had, or that we lose the time that could have been productive by enjoying the moment with friends or family or even by yourself, right? So where did this come from? I feel like maybe it's from a place of low self-love, that we feel we do not deserve the celebration because what is there in this low value human that is worth celebrating? So why we don't celebrate the small wins is an individualistic pursuit, an individualistic discovery, and finding the reason is of importance in allowing ourselves to finally be able to do so. So those are the reasons which I have reflected in a nutshell, that I have reflected. That is why I did not celebrate the small wins, because I did not think I was a worthy person to celebrate. Like, what is there to celebrate? And also that maybe if I loosened up and celebrated a little, I would not be able to tighten back up and have the same grit and determination going into the next task. But that's not true. Yeah, that's not true. If you cannot tighten up after loosening, then you did not have that skill set in the first place. So that is then something that you need to focus on, right? How do you build that ability to, or the flexibility to tighten up and loosen up whenever you want to? Yeah. So if we want a significantly happier and healthier journey, we have to celebrate the small wins. Whether it is getting 100 podcast plays, which I recently did, yeah, and I did like 300 YouTube views, yeah, right? So had a little celebration for that. Or even taking that first step in starting that podcast, right? Or even getting the work done when you didn't feel like it, or even sticking with the boundaries you have set for yourself. We have to at least acknowledge, if not celebrate it. And if we do that, we are definitely going to live a happier and more content life, because you give yourself the acknowledgement and the credit that you deserve, and you will be more motivated to continue on whatever it is you are chasing. Yeah. So again, it is not something that you have to, go through 5 years of doing something to then discover it. It's something that you can do straight away. So right now, what are the things that you are setting out to achieve in your day, right? Make a point that once you achieve that, have a little small celebration, whether it can be things like, give yourself a nice treat in terms of food, right? Small celebration. Or give yourself a little break, right? Maybe go for a walk or go watch an episode of your favorite show, right? So again, celebrations are things that you just give it meaning as a celebration. It doesn't have to be something super spectacular, right? Maybe you can reserve that for the really big ones, but small wins deserve at least small celebrations. And celebrations are whatever you deem as celebrations. Again, it can be a sweet, or it can be a sweet drink, or it can be try to find something sustainable. So not like shopping. Yeah. So if you if you celebrate every small win with shopping, that's not sustainable. I think you'll be more unhappy in the long run because your bank account will be like, ugh. Yeah. So that's number 2. Yeah, celebrate the small wins. All right, number 3. Number 3 is to do the things you can do while you are able to. Do the things you can do while you are able to. And I bracket it at the side, making full use of your youth. So I recently had this conversation with a friend. We were waiting for rehearsals to start, and beside us was another group of dancers who were obviously younger than us. Don't have to look closely to know that they're younger than us. We were talking about how they were super excited and seemingly passionate and hardworking during the practice. They were eagerly waiting for instructions, learning and practicing their steps when they're on their break, super full out during every run, learning, I said that already, and all that stuff, basically, yeah. So they were just like, full of energy and excitement. While in comparison, both of us were chilling. We were talking and thinking about when rehearsals will end, even though it hasn't even started yet, complaining of pain everywhere, not wanting to move because of all that pain, and basically tiredness, and other typical old problems. So it ended with us saying that we were glad we did so many crazy things back then when we were more active and capable and took almost all opportunities, no matter how stacked they were. Stacked meaning like how impossible it seemed and how many at once. Yeah, so stacked by itself and stacked on top of each other. So in contrast, this is something different from the regret, but this is something more of I am proud not to be regretting. So it's a bit opposite. And honestly, to each their own. Some people will not come to regret not doing crazier things when they could, and that's totally okay. But knowing the person I am, and if you are listening to this podcast, I think you are as well, I would have so much regret knowing that I could have done more. Because again, if you are listening to this podcast, means that you are trying to be the best version of yourself, and doing more does not mean like me physical things in the physical pursuit, but even things like gaining more knowledge or trying to take your discipline to a new level, right? There's always more you can do while you can do it, right? And the worst part is knowing that even if you try it now, you would not do it as well back then, because the reality is that as you age, the amount of things you are capable of doing is less and less because your priorities have shifted. Physically and mentally, your maturity and tolerance also changes. So sometimes it's not that like on a physical side, because a lot of things I do is very physical. Sometimes it's not because you are physically incapable of doing it. You can still physically do it, but it's just your tolerance of doing it is not the same. Your priorities have changed. It is no longer something that you really want to do anymore. And you have new things that you are concerned about that takes up more of your time. So you physically can, but it's just that the situation has changed. And that is the biggest thing that I know I knew early on that I did not want to have. That looking back feeling of like, oh, I could have done more. I could have done this. Yeah. So if it's not a physical pursuit, whether it's a mental pursuit or whatever it is, you have to think that is this, whatever it is you're passing on, something that you are going to look back and say, if I have done this, blah, 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 blah. Right? It's like the old quote, we usually regret the things we didn't do more than the things we did. And I think if we don't regret the things we didn't do more than the things we did, we don't have a curious enough mind or one that is capable of projecting greater possibilities. Meaning we are content and comfortable with what we have. And comfort is the enemy of greatness. Certainly don't do things that are not of interest to you. So if you are like me, I like to do a lot of physical things. I would think that learning accounting is not something I want to do. Right? I'm not gonna regret not learning accounting, but I'm gonna regret not like going for competitions and etc. Right? Or like trying to run a marathon, etc. But if it's something that you know is related to what excites you currently, just do it. Like what Nike says, just do it. Figure it out along the way. If you wait until you have figured it out, it probably won't be there anymore because the game would have changed or is no longer available to you anymore. Look at how fast things are evolving. Look at how fast things are changing. Rules change, new discoveries are made, new heights and standards are being established. By the time you wait for yourself to be ready for the standard that you currently are at, you currently need to be at, the standard has been changed and you are still not ready. So you're always playing a catch-up game, right? So you learn more by failing than by not trying anyways, and the only way to stay in the game is to keep playing the game, not by standing at the side self-loathing. So some things that I'm super happy that I did, and I know that I maybe can't do it anymore. Or not can, I just won't want to do it anymore. So I'm happy I did like 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. back-to-back practices. I'm happy I took full day back-to-back workshops, like literal full day, like open house kind of things, 10 a.m. all the way until like 10 p.m. Like just workshops back-to-back. I'm happy I took up and danced 13 items in the production. Back when there was no cap on the amount of items you can join. I took up and danced in 13 items, like almost more than half the show. The quick change was crazy. I'm happy I joined my solo competitions in my pursuits that I no longer do. Not just dance, but like golf and swimming and karate and whatever it is. Like, just sign me up. I don't need friends to sign up with. I know I want. I just go. Yeah. Right, so I'm happy I did many overnight rehearsals. I don't think I can survive that right now. Like from 8 p.m. all the way until McDonald's served breakfast. That was what we put in the chat last time. Prac time. 8 p.m. dash until McDonald's served breakfast. Quite crazy. Yeah, I'm also happy about the things that I did that I wasn't sure about, even if it didn't turn out well. Because I don't think I have the capacity to do them anymore now, or that they are not something available to me anymore. And I am left with no regrets knowing I fully utilized my time doing the things I wanted to do and not just thinking about doing what I want to do. We assume we'll get another chance or another go at whatever it is we pass on. But even if we do, conditions would have changed. Circumstances would be different. New problems would be in play, and so much more. You'll never be in the same position ever again. Do the things you want to do while you can do it. So I think in this framework, linking it back to the whole how to live a happier life or the secrets to living a happier life, it's more of choosing how unhappy you are going to be. If let's say unhappiness is inevitable, right? You are either going to be unhappy because you regret not doing it, or you're going to be unhappy because whatever you're doing is hard, right? You just choose which unhappiness is less for you. So it's another way of thinking of happiness as, instead of finding things that make you happy, it is choosing things that make you less unhappy. I think that's another way to go at it if you're trying to work around this whole secret of happiness thing. Alright, moving on. Number 4. This one's pretty straightforward as well. Actually, you should realize a lot of these things, or the things so far, the 3 things so far, I think are things you already know. But yeah, it's just maybe sometimes you have to listen to something like 100 times in order for the 100th time to then make sense. So maybe either this is your 100th time, or this is just one more in that accumulation of times you need to hear it. So this one is stop caring about the opinions of people who do not matter. I think the biggest reason people grow up to be negative, bitter, and self-centered is because they spend too much time caring about the opinions of people who do not matter, and they either learned that those opinions don't matter too late in their life or have not even learned it at all. So I believe that everyone starts out caring about everyone else's opinion. And the sooner they learn that not everyone's opinion matters, the more socially adept a life they will lead. Most social issues, I believe, will have caring too much about everyone's opinion as a factor of why it is present. It is not the main factor, but it will always be there. It is a contributing factor. For example, why can't you mix well with people? Because I think they'll think I'm weird. Why don't you have much friends? Because I don't think people will get me, so I don't bother getting any. Why don't you bring up your preferences? Because I don't want them to think I'm a certain type of way. Why did you not go for the thing you wanted? Because my friends didn't, and if I did, maybe they'll judge me. Why are you so quiet when you have a lot of great ideas? Because maybe other people will think this about me. So it's always because I think someone else thinks, right? So how many times has someone's opinion stopped you from doing what you want? More importantly, and this is the real one, how many times has your made up opinion that someone has of you stopped you from doing something you want? It is one thing to be stopped by an actual opinion. It is another to be stopped by an opinion by others that you made up yourself. Because in reality, maybe like 75% of whatever you think people are thinking about you is non-existent. They are just not thinking about it. It's the idea where whatever judgment you are thinking about people on yourself, they are doing that to themselves too. So in reality, no one is actually thinking about someone else. They're just thinking about themselves and how they are perceived by people around them. You know what I'm trying to say? Right? So if we can't help but to be conscious of ourselves and what people think of us, and I think this is a very common thing nowadays, then what we need to do is discern whose opinion really matters. So I personally used to be a victim of the everyone's opinion matters trap. I would love to find out what people I don't know think about me. I would love to ask publicly what are the things anyone thinks of me. I would take all feedback to heart and let myself get affected by them, right? So common things that I realize are like, in a way, seeking out these things are like those NGL things where you post up and then you want people to and then like, you know, asking for feedback or always trying to fish out for people's opinions about whatever you did or who you are, right? And it's just randomly fishing out. Like, you don't care who it is, you're just going to ask, right? So when I look back at all of that, I realized that there was a very miserable way to live, and that's how I remember it. The best thing I did for myself in this aspect was to define whose opinion of me matters, and everyone else's was moot. Yes, everyone else's opinion was moot. Moot. M-O-O-T. I think it's M-O-O-T. Not moo. But unless you subscribe to what Joey from Friends thinks, a cow's opinion does not matter. That's why it is moo. If you don't have a list of people whose opinion matters, I will give you a helping hand. Whoever is chasing the same thing as you and whoever has already attained it. So whoever falls under that category, those are the people whose opinion truly matters. Right? So for example, whoever is chasing the same thing as you, probably your teammates, if you are in a team, right? And again, the teammates who are helping you get there as well, who are on the same trajectory as you, right? Or maybe it is your close friends. If you are chasing a common destination. Doesn't have to be in the same discipline, but let's say you just want to chase uh like financial freedom and whatever, right? And again, it's also how they are chasing it, right? So if your how is not aligned, then probably their opinion does not really matter. It's more of, are the hows aligned, then they matter, right? And then whoever has already attained it, this is going to be your teachers, your coaches, and your parents. If they have attained what you are looking for, or what you are chasing, then their opinion matters, especially if they are the ones who are in charge of your growth. Their opinions matter. So it's kind of a little bit different from nobody's opinion matters but yourself. It's more of, yes, your opinion matters, but also those who are able to help you. You have to know the difference. Okay, so don't just like screw everyone else's opinions. Only my opinion matters. I don't care if you are against me or you're helping me, your opinion does not matter. Right? And I think that is the all or nothing approach that some people have. Right? So they are so subscribed to that only my opinion matters that they don't care that their coach thinks of them this way, or their coach wants them to be a certain way, or the teacher says this, and then like, no, only my opinion matters. I don't care about whatever it is. Yeah, so it's just a matter of filtering and discerning whose matters and whose does not. It is not a all or nothing. Yes. So the moment I let the opinions of everyone else pass by my life, everything was so much more peaceful and clear. Additionally, plus point, things that I wanted to get done got done faster and with better quality because there are less distractions. I can stay more true and focus on my purpose, etc. I realized then that I had wasted so much time previously and was pulled around in so many directions emotionally for no reason whatsoever. Learn from this and stop caring about the opinions of people who don't matter. You are going to live a happier life, a more peaceful one, and a more clear one because you control whose opinion you take in. And again, it's something that you don't have to learn. I've learned it for you. So all you got to do is just take that advice and now pick out who are the ones whose opinions do you really have to take in, and whose are totally redundant, like does not matter at all. And the last one, this one's going to be short and sweet because quite self-explanatory. Chase experience over results. If you chase experience over results, your life will be much more meaningful. Meaningful means more happy and content. So I'll leave this short and sweet because it's self-explanatory. Stop focusing on the results and focus more on the journey. When we die, we'll remember and hold on to the memories of the journeys we took rather than the results we have or have not achieved. Focusing on results makes people maniacal, narcissistic, and stressed because we are trying to control what we cannot control. None of that sounds like a good life. Reframe the idea of what great results are. To me, a great result is whatever the outcome is after a truly great experience. So achieving a great result isn't on the condition that we achieve the result we set out to achieve, but on the only condition that the experience is great. Hence, all experiences are great. Hence, all great experiences lead to great results, but not all great results have great experiences, which in turn means the result wasn't really great in the first place. I'll leave you to unpack that by yourself, but essentially, if your experience is great, it doesn't matter what the results are. You're just gonna have a good time and you're gonna feel fulfilled. Period. And if after your seemingly great experience, you get the result and you're not happy, then the experience was not as great as it could have been. So, something to think about as well. And so these are the easy ways that I won't say easy. These are the more these are the ways that you don't have to go through like years of experience to start doing, right? You can immediately start documenting your evidence currently, wherever you are at, so that in the future you can compare it to, you have a point A and point B, right? You can start celebrating the small wins. You don't need to regret not celebrating the small wins to then celebrate the small wins. You can just start doing it already. You can do all the things you want to do while you can do it, right? Don't think so much, just go for it, right? Because again, you will be unhappy either way if you're in that position. So it's whether you're unhappy doing what you want to do or unhappy wishing you did what you could do and no longer can do it. You can start not caring about the opinions who don't matter by filtering and picking out whose opinion who is in your life right now that opinion you should care about. Oh, that's a very hard sentence to get out. Right, and last one is to start chasing experience over results. Whatever journey you're going on, like set your result still, like have an idea of what result you want, because ultimately that is your direction. But once you get on that journey, just focus on the journey. Then if that journey is great, whatever result you get does not really matter. Even if you get the result you wanted in the first place, it's not going to matter. You would be more thankful that you had an incredible journey than getting the results that you wanted. That's just a bonus. Yeah. So these are my secrets to living a happy life, and tested and proven, because these are the things that I'm doing right now, and I feel like I have a happier life. Not like happiest life I can live, still working on it, but this made a big difference in my life, and hopefully it's gonna help you as well. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. Let me know if there is anything you want me to talk about more, or if there's anything you want me to talk about less. Yeah. And yeah, thank you for the 100 listens and 100 plays on Spotify and 300 plus on YouTube. Let's keep going. Yeah, this is episode 13. Hope to do a lot more. As you can tell, I put the hashtag 0, like 3 numbers. So hopefully I get to like 100 in time to come. We'll see. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep focusing on the journey, not the result. All right. Have a great day, night, afternoon, wherever it is or whatever time it is you're listening this from. And yeah, I'll see you on the next podcast. Peace.